I do have three partners. Those three friends that said go to that festival are my best friends, sisters, and we've known each other almost forever. And we always say that God is the CEO of our business. And we actually all had different pieces. I was a graphic artist. April was in communications. Donna's degree was business, and Tricia was finance. We were like, our business is put together right here. And a lot of people wonder about working with your friends and family. It's tough, but because we are like-minded and we are spirit-minded and we have the same goals for the business, we may fight and tussle and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we know that we're on the same goal for the business. So what we did after we sort of looked around, like, all right, I think we just started a business, was we decided, well, I guess we need to put up a website. But the funny thing is, you put up a website, nobody's going to it. Nobody knows your website is there. So we did a lot of grassroots. Almost about a year and a half of going to festivals. We did Pooka parties. We tapped all of our family and friends. Have a party for us. Have a party for us. Have a party for us. And then what we did, and we sort of forgot this at the very beginning, was a mailing list. That is the key to your business. Collect a mailing list, because you have to have a way to get back in touch with all of these people. And everywhere we went, we started collecting the mailing list, and then we could see people starting to funnel through to that website. So we traveled to Virginia and North Carolina, and we were on the circuit, the grassroots circuit, and we started to really get Pooka out there. And then I call it my pride to the side moment, because I worked for Sony Music, and a friend of mine said, why don't you come back and show us what you're doing now? And I was like, do I want to go back and show them making oils? I don't know. But I was like, put your pride to the side. You might sell some things and get some more shoes. So I went, and when I went there, I set up in the conference room, and the woman that was there, that actually took my place after I left, she's like, I have a great friend who works in Whole Foods. And from that connection, we're in 50 Whole Foods. But I always tell people there's a lot of bridge between that. We had to get insurance. So a lot of it we learned as we went along. We had to get product liability insurance. We had to make sure we had the right packaging, right things listed on the label. So a lot of it was growth and research as we went. Then we went to, small business development centers. We just tried to suck up any information that we could. We made sure we registered the business, bought the domain, piece at a time. I think that's what you really need to do. Do your research, and piece at a time. We started to slowly build the business. But it was tough because it was very grassroots. We didn't have a lot of investment. It was just our own money that we put in. We put it in, buy some products, sell some products, put that money back in again. So it's a tougher way to do it, but that's what we had at that time. We stayed in my apartment, in my house, for at least 4 years of the business, the first 4 years. We were trying to keep our overhead low, and we didn't really know where we were going to go with it. And then finally, we moved into a warehouse space. And we were very excited. I was so happy to have all that stuff out of my house. And we started making products in the warehouse. And the business really started to get some traction with going into the Whole Food stores. We were actually in a good space. So we were doing a lot of wholesale, and all that grassroots that we did started pushing some orders into the website. So we were happy, we were working, but I was still not feeling well. So I had done all this stuff, and I felt good for periods of time, and then there'd be a month or two, and I'm like, how am I back here? I'm following the diet, I'm doing the things I said, how do I not feel good again? So I had an incident where I just lost some feeling in my leg, and finally I went to the emergency room. And at this point, I had done so much research, and I said to the doctor asked me, which out of all the doctors that I've gone to, this is the only man who ever asked me, what do you think is wrong with you? So finally I said, you know what, it's either MS or it's diabetes. So he tested me for that and found out that it was MS. And I know I had been living with it undiagnosed for years, but at least now I had a diagnosis, and I knew exactly what I needed, well, not exactly what I needed to do. I knew what I needed to do to attack it and manage it and live with it and hopefully get rid of it, because I still say that it's going to be gone. But the business was for me a wonderful thing, because there were days when I don't feel good, but I can go to my business and lay on the couch. And my mother was in the back making stuff, and my brother was shrink wrapping and labeling, and April's mother was packaging. So it enabled me, having my own business enabled me to take that time I needed for the MS. And that actually kept my stress down, as opposed to trying to trek into the city. I was working in the city, and dealing with the commute and things like that. Now, when I didn't feel good, there were times when I was able to just stay home and work on my computer, or I can go there and work on my computer. So it really did help me as far as having the business. Now, the hurt part came, I didn't have any insurance, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't. So now I have this big diagnosis. and I have no insurance. So thank you, President Obama, because now I have some Obamacare, and I'm doing well with that. But that actually was a big point in the business when I got that diagnosis. But like I said, it cleared my mind because I knew what it was now, and I did a laser focus on it, and I had so much support from friends and family that it was a blessing. We were blessed with a large amount of great press. And that's why I say this is a spirit led business, because every time we got press, it was like, well, how did that happen? The first time I was going to church, and when I got to church, they knew I'm a graphic artist, and they said, you know what, Dawn, we need you to work on this, a little program, a booklet. And in my mind, I was like, I don't have time, but I can't tell Jesus no. So I was like, okay. And they paired me with another woman. She was new in the church. And they said, you guys can work together and, work on this booklet. So I said, okay. So I would go to her house like twice a week, and, we're getting this thing out. And I really bonded with her. A really nice woman. I was telling her about the business, and we would go back and forth. So we worked on this booklet for the church for about a month. Finally it was done. I was like, oh, okay, great. I said, I'll see you. We didn't see each other as much, but I was in Whole Foods maybe a month later, and she's like, so you ready to be on TV? And I was like, yeah. And unbeknownst to me, she was a VP at NBC, and she pitched to them about women starting their own business. So we were on NBC Today Show, a national spot. That's something that you can't. So when people ask, like, well, what did you do? It's faith. Things like that's the way all of our press happened. And when we got the national spot, they went right to the website. So that really took our business really to the next level. And then, I would say maybe a year or two later, we were blessed with the same woman, and we were on CBS News. So the press just kept really rolling in, and press gets more press when people see that. So then we were featured in Black Enterprise in '07, and they did a great story on us. And again, that really just did a lot for the business.